and good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Money Matters. My name is Nev, and today we have a very exciting news for you on Sunday early morning. Slightly behind, but always on time. Today we're going to be talking about bugs and snails and scams. We're also going to be talking about some exciting things that are happening in the crypto communities. And if the intro completely confused you, well, that is why you're here, to be slightly confused, amused, and potentially incited about what's going on in crypto. And as the name of today's broadcast says, we are going to be talking about, is it the last possible chance for you to get some Bitcoin below 20,000? I believe yes. I believe that we are only a few hours or a few days away from this price break, and I'm going to be sharing with you some of the charts and some of my thinking of why I think that. All right, y'all, let's do this. All right, and good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Super excited that you are here. I hope that you are just as excited. So let's not waste any time whatsoever. Let's talk about what in the world is going on and why did I start with the whole bugs and snails and everything else. Let's get through that stuff. Let's get through some of the scams so that you can watch out for those. And then we're going to be talking about exciting things, especially for Bitcoin, but of course for entire networks. So what am I talking when it comes to bugs? Well, apparently there's an unidentified bug that basically stopped Solana network, and it caused the network to go down for about 6 hours. And of course, then it took additional 6 hours and 80% of the validators to agree to restart the network. However, the good news is price of Solana did not actually have any impact whatsoever. It remained pretty healthy. Talking about healthy and snails, so see, I did promise that I was going to be a snail in this whole thing. So if you're grossed out by them, I personally think they're adorable. Then you might want to close your eyes. Oh, too late. I guess I didn't tell you that early on. But one of the things to note is that, everybody has been talking about Facebook and Libra, and of course it's not Libra now, it's DM. And the problem is that they have been up on the testnet for about 43 days, and they only can execute about 6 transactions per second, which is really, 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 really slow. So I don't know why they're building their own thing. Personally, I think Facebook would have done much better if they built on top of something else like Ethereum, because everybody's building there. But then again, I do understand that there's other chains and that there are other potential opportunities. Ethereum does have its problems for sure. But it is one of the things that I think I look for something that can process a little bit faster than 6 transactions per second. I mean, if they were actually comparing here in the article, and they were saying, Visa can actually do 1,700 transactions per second. So Libra has a long way to go, but I think they'll get there. And I don't know that I'm necessarily crazy about them doing this project, but I am crazy about crypto, so maybe I support it nonetheless. Now, one of the things that I also started the episode with, before we get into anything else super exciting and positive, let's get the negative news out of the way, right? Is there's a bit of a scam happening with Metamask. So not Metamask itself. They are still good. I don't want you to freak out and be like, oh no, my money is in there. There's actually fake Metamasks that are coming out. So this is what's happening, so you just need to know about it and be careful with what you're doing. But there is an ongoing phishing campaign which is stealing funds from people who install a malicious browser extension thinking they got themselves a MetaMask, right? But they didn't. One of them, fraudulent extensions, redirects victims to the installmetamask.com, right? Which is not official MetaMask website, and you don't want to do that one. So check the address, okay? MetaMask.io is the one, and check this out. It looks exactly the same. I mean, they copied this thing perfectly. If you've ever been to the MetaMask website, you will realize you're like, wow, that's wow. They are also paying for ads to promote the phishing site. So maybe, just maybe, because this particular site right over here, it was registered, domain was registered on November 29, 2020. So I'm thinking between domain registration and the fact that they're paying for ads, it should be pretty easy for the government to catch the criminal. But that's just me. We'll see if they're actually going to do anything about it or not. But one thing to be very, very careful about. The other one is the Metamarks, right? So you got to be very careful. .io. So this is much closer when you look at it, but it's offline right now. So just gotta read be very careful about the whole thing. Now, one of the things that did come from MetaMask is, quote, Google is allowing a fisher to buy sponsored ads on their search results when using crypto. Try to use direct links, and if you need to use search, watch out for sponsored links. And I will add, personally, watch out to what it says in the address of the browser. You got to be very, very careful these days. Anybody can say that they are anybody else, company, business, person, whatever. You got to be super, super careful. And unfortunately, this whole like scamming and phishing and whatever it's called is not going to go away. It's only going to get worse, now with voice and everything else. I mean, good luck to us all, I guess. Good luck to us all. So you just really got to be diligent and keep paying attention to stuff. Now, it's time to switch with a little bit of exciting news to sort of start this exciting news cake. We're going to start with a brand new project that is being rolled out. And I think you're going to connect the dots and say, this sounds like something that already exists. And that's because, well, it does. But I think it might be somewhat different, so we'll see how it's going to develop. Introducing Synovate, the future of decentralized cloud storage. And if you have been in the crypto space and watching things and paying attention, you're like, wait a minute. We do have, it's called Filecoin. But yes, it's very similar to that. So decentralized cloud storage data platform, Synovate, is developing its own in-house blockchain technology known as deterministic infinity nodes, DIN. And they are projected to exceed $80 billion US. The market is split between mainstream providers right now. What we have, Amazon and Microsoft, and then the new, more technically secure blockchain based like Storj, Filecoin, which are decentralized cloud alternatives, right? So that's why I was like, hey, we do have kind of cloud Filecoin, and I personally am very bullish on Filecoin and what they can do. I think it's absolutely brilliant whole thing. Now, we of course do have Amazon and Microsoft. The challenge with Microsoft and Amazon, well, the benefit, I guess, is that everybody has heard of them, right? Like everybody under the sun, I think, knows about Microsoft and Amazon as well, right? So it's not news. It's not, you know what I mean? Like nothing breaking and stuff. But the challenge is that it's pretty expensive. It adds up. It doesn't sound like it's expensive until you start running it. Trust me on that one. And then you start running, you're like, wow, this adds up really, really fast. So that's one part of the challenge. The other part of the challenge is because it is centralized, it is actually able to go in and attack it. And so we're hearing all kinds of problems from it. So that's why I'm very bullish on decentralized platforms and networks where you can still have your stuff in it. Potentially is going to cost less, and I believe it does cost less. And it potentially has ability to sort of protect your goodies up on the line and in the cloud. So Synovate is basically going to be, again, using the deterministic infinity nodes, and it's going to utilize a new protocol called BFTP, Blockchain-Based File Transfer Protocol. So again, it sounds very similar to Filecoin. In my humble opinion, it is very similar to Filecoin. But again, every so often you kind of get these projects that are very similar but kind of different. An example of that would be like SushiSwap, for example, right? SushiSwap is a clone of Uniswap, if you think about it, with some additional bits and pieces, right? Like they rolled out that token and governance and that kind of stuff, and Uni was kind of late to the game to that. Oops. Then, of course, now we also have HoneySwap, which we covered here on the channel as well, which, in some regards, I think is even better than Sushi Swap. It uses XDAI, and I think it's actually a pretty cool project and stuff. So you see these projects all the time rolling out. For example, we have YFI, which I really like, and we've covered here on the channel, and we've looked at the charts and stuff and kind of geeked out with it. And I believe that, which Piers, by the way, speaking of YFI and Andre Cronje, who's the developer behind the project, he has been going on this like wild chase of collabs, partnerships, acquisitions, mergers, whatever you want to call them, with so many different projects, from Pickle to Cream. There was a few other that were announced just last night, I want to say, or maybe yesterday, earlier in a day. So this is a really, really interesting kind of project to look, and it's very cool that they're all starting to collaborate to really make it better. But now I've just read that there is a YFY, which is sort of like a version of YFI, but then it has like something a little bit different. So a lot of the projects that come in, very few projects, I don't want to say that. There are a lot of really good projects out there, okay? There are projects that are really cool, really exciting. They're doing all kinds of new things. But more often than not, you see somebody roll out a project, right? And then within months or sometimes weeks, you have somebody else that basically just takes their code, clones it, renames it, and throws it out as to something else to take kind of over it. So it's a very interesting environment. It's a very, very wild, wild west kind of environment that you have to operate in and think through. And so if you are a developer, if you are a business owner kind of thinking through this stuff, you got to be super very careful about that stuff and kind of think through all the different processes of how things may roll out. Now, one of the things that we did talk about many different coins, I think it's time to take a look at the market because we haven't done that yet. And looking at the top 100 coins, you will see that we are basically mostly flattish market. Bitcoin is currently standing at $19,065.97, up 0.2%. I wouldn't even call it up. It's flat, okay? Ethereum is 591.47. It's basically zero, exactly zero 24 hours. Not much movement happening in the last couple of days. XRP is up just shy of 2% at 59.9 cents. Litecoin is down currently at 82. Okay, well, 82 and 61, and it's down 0.8%. BCH is slightly up, 284.2 cents. Link slightly down at negative 1.5, 13.02. ADA slightly down, almost 3%. So as you can see, like, it's a little bit of up, a little bit of down. Nothing too crazy, nothing too exciting that is happening in the top market. Again, even with the biggest gainers, which I don't know how this works. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Do you see what I see? Waves should be the biggest loser, even though it's listed on the third spot here. At biggest gainer. My apologies. Biggest gainer. Waves is biggest gainer, has positive 7.9%. Then Made at 7.5. Then we have EGLD at 6.4. Their sorting feature is not working, y'all, as you can see right over here. Let's see if it works on the downside of the things. Maybe. Okay, it appears to work in the opposite direction. Wow, yowza. Amplifort is the biggest loser at 11.1%, followed by Zen 4.6 down, Zem 3.6 down, Ocean 3.5 down, and then we get into the twos and ones. Again, it's a very, very flat market. Not many gainers, not many losers. Pretty much a snoozing market. But this brings me to Bitcoin and why I'm saying I think we might be at the last chance to actually purchase Bitcoin in the tens of thousands, right, as opposed to the 20s. I think we're going to be hitting into the 20s in a relatively speaking near future, and I think we're actually a days away, although it is crypto and it can move super fast, so it could be hours away, and I'll share with you as we kind of progress through what's happening with Bitcoin that is making me both long and short term bullish on the entire thing. So number one thing to note, I don't know if you knew this or not, but Bitcoin is now the seventh largest crypto, or not crypto, seventh largest currency in the world. Of course, number one is United States. Number two is Euro. Then we have Yuan, which is standing at the third place, with the Yen at fourth. Swiss franc is number five. Indian rupee is number six, and Bitcoin is number seven. And I don't know if I don't know if this is completely accurate because I'm getting it from an article. But one of the things that I've noticed that is very interesting is British pound is missing, right? I mean, have you noticed? So I don't know if it's because it's so small, even though it is thought traditionally as one of the stronger currencies, right? One of the more trusted currencies. I mean, it used to be the world reserve currency before the dollar kind of stepped in. So it's a very interesting concept to realize that, hey, it's not even listed over here, and Bitcoin is just, a little itty bitty ways away from Indian rupee, probably easy to take it off and then take over it. And then once it does, I mean, the Swiss franc is, super near, right? I mean, take a look over here. Bitcoin is 0.36 trillion. Rupee is 0.6, right? So that's an easy one, relatively speaking, to get to. And then you're only 0.2 trillion away from the franc, and two again, right? Like it's two and two and two. And of course, to get to the US dollar, it's going to take a while, which is why when we talk about and think through the CBDCs, right? The central bank digital currencies, and why US is like, you do you, we're not in it quite yet. That's because they don't have to. All of these other ones actually have to figure out something and do something. US is so far away from the whole thing that it doesn't necessarily have to worry about it quite yet. Speaking of the US, there's one of my favorite humans in the world ever. And if I was to ever vote for president, this guy would be it. It is libertarian Ron Paul. And he was recently on a podcast. And of course, he did run for president. He didn't get it. But, I am a libertarian at heart. I won't lie. I'm going to be completely honest. Come out on a show live and acknowledge this piece. And I think he's a brilliant, brilliant man. And, I really like him. And I still can't believe to this date that the man was never elected. But I digress. So anyways, he was on a show and he was basically saying that the best way to deal with Bitcoin is to legalize it. He's interested in cryptocurrency because it's not a creature of the government, but he also did add that the government is closely watching it. And he was saying, hey, let's make the people make the decision. Legalize it, let people be able to use it, and then you and I, amongst ourselves, we can decide how we're going to pay each other, right? I mean, who is to say that if I wanted your goat and you wanted my cow, then we couldn't exchange it, right? Nobody in the world could argue against that, right? If I wanted to give you a pair of my sneakers for your sandwich, we could do that. If both parties agree to that exchange, why not? So who cares what you accept? Whether you accept a dollar, a gold, a Bitcoin, a rupee, right? It's irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant. In the US, a number of states, such as New York, have strict regulations surrounding cryptocurrencies, and New York is not the only one. New Hampshire is one of them. Connecticut is one of them. I think Delaware maybe. Nevada kind of has mixed feelings about it. Wyoming is basically wanting to position itself as the crypto capital USA, which is really exciting. And more and more people, I think, are going to go that way. California hasn't said much of anything, but they are kind of thinking of maybe we can do that piece. But California has all kinds of other problems on the taxation and stuff. So I don't know how I feel about that stuff. Anyways, Ron Paul argued on a show that the government shouldn't even tax the asset. Again, you gotta love this guy. You gotta absolutely love this guy. But again, as a libertarians, we don't believe in taxes anyways, and I don't believe in taxes. I pay them. I won't lie. I pay them. I abide by the law. But I'm not happy about it. Okay, I'm not happy about it. It's kind of like having the cough syrup where you take it to oblige, but you don't really want it and you don't like the taste of it. And speaking of, I might actually anger some of you right now. Speaking of the cough syrup, I don't know where this episode is going. We have gone down the tubes. Dr. Pepper, to me, tastes like cough syrup. I don't know how people can drink that thing, but this is what cough syrup actually tastes like in Europe. So having Dr. Pepper is not exciting at all to me. So, but every time I tell this to my American friends, they say, "Woo, cough syrup must be amazing back home." Like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So to each their own, right? Speaking of cough syrup, clearly somebody needs one. Excuse me about that. Okay, so one of the other things that is also happening is the BTC and on-chain analysis and what's going on. So of course we're going to cover a little bit of analysis by Willy Woo, who is actually saying that conservatively Bitcoin can hit $200,000 in 2021. So within the next 12 months, he believes that it's easy for us to do this. So he's saying there's two different reasons, right? Hodlers that don't want to sell, and then of course the reduced volatility, which is the same stuff that I've been quoting and saying here. Reaccumulation of Bitcoin has remained a consistently bullish trend throughout 2020. And of course, we are seeing a much more stable rally without major 30 and 40% corrections as frequently seen in 2017. If you remember 2017, right, it used to kind of go up and you were like, woohoo, and then it would like dip down 30%. And then, hopefully you were smart enough to buy more because then it would go up another like, 80% and then dip back down. I mean, it was very, very volatile. We are seeing some volatility. Nothing like we have seen in 2017. We're going to be looking at the charts, I promise, at the end. So stay tuned for that because I'm going to be showing you some stuff of like how we really haven't been having much of a volatility at all whatsoever. So he's saying that my top model suggesting 200,000 per BTC by the end of 2021 looks conservative. 300,000 not out of the question. The current market on average paid 7,456 for their coins. You are all geniuses. And so this is the average of what the current market holds and what they have paid. So of course everybody, or just about everybody, is in the profit predominantly, but people are not selling even though we're hitting this new all-time highs. Yes, we see a little bit of struggle right now as we try to break the 20,000 when we kind of come close to it, and then we come back down and we try again and we come back down. And if you will remember, was this was like summer, maybe spring, summer, something like that, where Bitcoin was like trying to break the 10,000 and 11,000. Remember that? And then like try, fail, fail. And then all of a sudden just went kaboom and just went through the roof. So that's kind of what I expect is going to happen. Again, we're going to be taking a look at the charts in a few moments. So he's also looking and saying, hey, hodlers, wave data also supports the argument that hodlers from 2017 and 2018 bull cycle aren't selling at these relatively high prices. This data also suggests that some earlier hodlers from 3 to 7 years ago are taking profit after a prolonged BTC rally, heightening the chance of correction in the short term. So again, it goes again with the whole piece that I have been saying is that what we are seeing is selling is not the new mass of people that came in. This is folks that like bought it for a penny, okay? And they are selling, a small portion of it because they are looking, it's kind of like a retirement fund, right? You sell a little bit of a chunk at certain key prices to be able to live off of it. And so that's what I believe is happening. That's what we are getting this correction at about 20,000 because some of these OGs are selling, okay? But overall, folks are just holding. The likelihood of the recovery of the US dollar could cause Bitcoin to see a minor pullback, although we have seen and heard from other folks that are saying, I don't know, the US dollar seems to be kind of going down, although we are seeing some of the upticks happening with the treasury and everything else. So anything is possible. But he's saying that if US dollar kind of goes up, we could see a little bit of a pullback with Bitcoin. Maybe not. Right now The storyline, I guess, is that people are getting into Bitcoin because they're afraid that the dollar is going to lose value. And some might, but I think many more people are going into it because they're saying, well, even if the dollar strengthens, over the time it actually does lose value, right? Because it's a currency that was made to do that. That's by design, okay? It's supposed to do that, right? So folks that are going in and wanting to preserve their wealth, they go into the Bitcoin anyways. So this whole dollar going slightly up or down as related to other currencies is, I think, irrelevant to a vast majority of investors. Just the narrative right now that is selling the news. That's it. Following the biggest 3-week liquidation in the gold market, analysts also see the precious metals rebounding, which could stall BTC's momentum in the short term. I agree. We did see a big liquidation in the gold market. We are seeing this beautiful like cup formation coming back in Bitcoin as well as in gold. So the charts look pretty darn same to me. Okay, not exactly the same, but pretty darn close to the same. And while I do think that maybe, just maybe, I don't know that one is versus the other. I think people are kind of liking both, and so they tend to go into both. Again, I don't know. I could be completely wrong. You tell me what you think. Now, short term, this is the reason. Now we're getting into the reason why I'm saying that the Bitcoin is going to start actually going on up from here on out. Not like ad nauseum, but we're going to break the 20. The on-chain data is showing selling pressure on Bitcoin is declining. And that brings me to the chart. Now, what you're seeing in this chart right now, for those of you that are watching, because some of you are just listening, so I'm going to do my best to explain it. But when you zoom out to the 1-year chart, and I took out the candles so that we avoid this whole color noise and stuff, and you get like, oh, there's just too much happening. So I just took a line and put it in. And this green line over here, there's the line that I can actually move it right over here. You can see kind of how the chart goes. And what I did is just really took this and said, okay, let's follow through what happens. You see that it kind of goes flat. And even if we zoom out further, this dip that happened in March was just basically a gift of buy it super low. You can see that we've sort of hit this plateau, or the bottom. I guess plateau is at the top, so maybe we hit the bottom. And from there, we started to form this beautiful U-cup formation that started to take on up. And as we follow this U-cup formation right over here, let me see if I can zoom in now. Over here is that you will see that when we follow this line, and my line is not, the most beautiful drawing on the planet, but when you follow it, you will notice that it follows it pretty well. And every time it kind of goes up, it kind of comes back down. Every time it dips below it, it comes back up. And right now we're sitting at this sort of precipice of things. And when I take a follow the model of kind of like, hey, where are we and where did we hit the high? This was sort of this high thing of like 1906, 1908, 1909. There were some exchanges that actually did hit 20. But I'm talking like, like a sustained kind of thing. So you will see that all happened on 30th of November. And, since then we have come down. And since then we're having this very strong support level sitting right now at $18,578.75, whatever, right? So you will see it once we zoom in that there is very strong support happening here. I'm going to zoom out to the 5-year, and now I'll show you actually this. Let me see if I can remove this guy. Let's move this guy so you can kind of see of what's happening and see this cup formation. All right, sorry. Do you see this whole thing, right? Do you see what I'm talking about right over here, right? You can see it kind of go. It comes down and it starts to go. And when it does that, this is the direction it goes in. It goes in up. So this is why I'm very, very bullish. And where we are right now, we are literally days, if not hours away from this. Hold on. Oh, stop it. Just stop it. We are days or hours away from breaking through and getting into the new highs. Now I'm actually gonna go and zoom into. Hold Here we go. Hold on. Hold on. All right. It's time to take a look into the bit. Ooh, 5 minute. I don't know about that. That's a little bit too much. And let's get our little candles back on. I like my candles. And let's take a look at what's happening here over the last few days with Bitcoin. So when we switch over to the candles and we switch over to the 15-minute candles, you will see that this beautiful thing that I have been sharing with you in the past, this is coming from this breakout over here when we had this double top. Remember how we had this almost like a neckline thing? Well, when you extend it, it ends up being a beautiful bounce off support level that is serving us incredibly, incredibly well. And so in the 15-minute chart, you can see that we're starting to turn bullish. 50-day moving average has turned over and above 200 moving average. And while, you know, it's still kind of consolidating, going sideways and down, we're not seeing much of anything. I am seeing also another beautiful thing forming right now before our eyes. And let me see if I can actually do this with you live. All right, so here we go. Check it out. We do see a triangle pattern, right? And what do we know about, yes, that's fine. What do we know about the triangle patterns? Well, oh no, come on, work with me. We do know that the triangle patterns tend to be very explosive on either on the up or the downside, and you will see that we are doing a beautiful, beautiful formation of the triangle, and you can see it right here, right now. We did have this earlier when we actually broke through, and that beautiful triangle pattern was down here when we actually was drawing it, and it broke through. So this is now coiling up really beautifully, and we'll see how it's going to play out. So I do expect that it's going to come back down to about $18,850 level, and then it might bounce back up to about 19, 100, 200 tops. It might do another sort of up and down thing, and then from there is going to be an explosive growth, and I do expect that it's going to be on the upside. Now, why am I saying on the upside and not the downside? Is because, well, we're seeing that the on-chain analysis, we're seeing that the actual number of coins is being withdrawn and not put in. So those that wanted to sell, they sold. Those that wanted to buy, well, they bought and they are still buying. And so looking at this stuff right now, it makes me think and it makes me believe that we are going to be going into, and today is what? Today is December 6th, right? So here we go. We are right over here. And the conclusion of this triangle, based off of the pattern that I see, is basically tomorrow night, right? Tomorrow night, my time. And so we have about 36 hours, maybe 48 hours if it takes it really, really slowly to see some major movements. And again, with crypto, with Bitcoin, I mean, this can happen super fast, and we could see another sort of rally. When that happens, not if, when that happens, the movement, again, I truly believe that it's going to be on the upside. But again, as I always say, and I have to repeat it yet one more time, nothing I say here is financial advice. Do not take it as such. It's not accounting. It's not legal. It's not, you know, what you should do with your money. I am just geeking out on the charts. You do what you're comfortable with. And if you need financial advice, find yourself a reputable and licensed financial advisor. Okay? Fair? Cool? All right. So the reason I believe, again, it's going to be a super massive thing, and we're going to be breaking over 20, and we should be finding ourselves well above 20,000 per Bitcoin in the upcoming few days. Actually, this week is a very likely possibility. Now, one of the interesting things that Willie Woo also pointed out that he kind of did over here, I thought was kind of interesting. He did the sort of a chart comparing the Bitcoin to some of the other assets like gold, bonds, stocks, emerging currencies, and the real estate. And I agree with him on most of the things. The part of the challenge that he was trying to do is when it came to the real estate, and the real estate is this green line over here, that you know, he was using basically the U.S. Federal Reserve for the other things. So he used the S&P 500 for the stocks, and the London bullion market for the gold, and the Bitcoin, obviously, coin metric. For emerging currencies, that's easier to track and stuff. Real estate is very challenging to track, and so depending on what he used and how he used that, it gives me a little bit of pause. So, but I do like how Bitcoin is overperforming, where it's probably not, based off of the charts that I'm seeing, is probably not taking into the account is the leverage and the tax benefits and the potential income benefits that one gets by holding real estate. So I think they're pretty close. I do believe, yes, I agree that Bitcoin is going to overperform it much faster, but there's definitely a lot of benefits to real estate. So I just want to point this out. And then in final piece, to finish today's broadcast, Apple co-founder Wozniak has listed a new coin. That's right, new project that deals with energy. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak has launched eForce, or eForce, or eForce, or I don't know how he's going to pronounce it, EFFORCE, which is a company that facilitates investments in energy efficiency projects. And the company aims to be a marketplace for streamlining the process of financing and undertaking such projects by enabling them to receive crowd contributions from investors via its token. It sounds very similar to Energy Web. And again, as you can see, there's a lot of things that ends up being rolled out, but ends up being something very similar to something that exists, and we just don't know which one is going to win. Is Wozniaks, which is going to be the name of the coin, going to be the one that wins, or is it going to be the Energy Web token? I don't know, but both have a potential and both have a future. I think many people will jump onto this one, if nothing else, because Woz is part of it. So there you go. That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, especially live. Do me a huge favor. Smash the like button if you actually like it. Do subscribe to the channel. Hit whatever notifications you may find on your end. And I will see you tomorrow. Until next time, stay forever money blessed. And do remember, you